Our Mini Sorna abandoned park built in Jurassic World Evolution 2 only has a few more spots left for exhibits. So this episode and next week's big last building episode are about filling in the blank spaces in a way that works for the overall park. Not big themed builds like past episodes, such as the airport, Dr. Wu's secret lab, and the T-Rex arena with VIP area. If you've been looking forward to the tour, hit the subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss it, and comment which species definitely still need to get added before the park is finished. The focus of this episode is a Velociraptor habitat, which takes some inspiration from the abandoned worker village from the Lost World Jurassic Park. I got several comments from people saying that the Sorna raptors really could not be missing from this build, and I wholeheartedly agree. And I went with the tiger raptors as opposed to the JP3 raptors in this instance. I could have gone with both, but honestly I was also trying to avoid repeating what we've done on Mini Nublar, although in a sense it does tread the same water, if that is even the phrase, because of course the raptor build on Mini Nublar also drew inspiration from the worker village, and we're sort of repeating that here. But yeah, I didn't want to do multiple raptor species on Mini Sorna, because that's what we did on Mini Nublar. So I also had to be mindful, and that's what I talked about in the intro, that we don't really have a large open spaces left to work with anymore. Really, this episode and next episode is gonna be all about filling in what we have left, working with the space that we have left, and figuring out what we can do with that space. So as you see right here, I'm doing my tried and tested trick of adding the Jurassic Park electricity buildings to the habitat, because, you know, the piping of that really evokes the whole worker village aesthetic for me. And I just love how these buildings look, especially when you give them the upgrade, so you get like the smokestacks. And really these buildings are like the main feature of this habitat. And the rest I kept open just to ensure that the Velociraptors could be seen from our viewpoint. So at the bottom of your screen right now, you have one viewpoint, which is just looking through a fencing into the habitat at the same level. And at the top, just on the other side of the river, the terrain is elevated. And from there, guests can look down across the river into the Velociraptor habitat. So, you know, that creates some distance between the guests and the animals, so I couldn't put too much stuff in the habitat itself. Fluffy Bush to the rescue, because of course, to make it all look overgrown, and because we are in the redwood area of Mini Sorna, the redwood half I should say. I'm using obviously the redwood trees, but also some of the biosyn trees, because they're a little bit fluffier, have a little bit more body at the lower end of the tree by the trunk and all that. So that's the foliage that I'm using. And it was a really simple habitat to build. And I think that that's going to be the case for most of the habitats, if not all of the habitats that are still coming, in that they're going to be quite simple. And I don't think that's going to be detrimental to the park overall, because the park already has like the big eye-catching attractions, right? It already has the big moments, and I think that's enough, and the rest of the park can just be subservient to that. It probably doesn't lend itself all that well to like exciting Mini Sorna episodes, and that's sort of the drawback and challenge of, you know, doing a serialized park build, where, you know, you feel like every episode has to be this groundbreaking thing. But in the end, especially with Mini Sorna, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but, you know, in the end, you really just have to work with what you've got. And you see that, you know, I sketched out the areas that I felt I could still use for exhibits, leaving space for, you know, thoroughfares and amenities and stuff like that. So, you know, there just wasn't a whole lot of real estate left to do spectacular, expansive habitats the way we have been doing, I feel at least, throughout this series. You know, we've just been building whatever we want, wherever the inspiration takes us. But that has left us with, these little areas of the puzzle that now need to be filled in. And the reason this especially applies to Mini Sorna, or any of my mini builds, I suppose, is because we are restricted to the shape of the island, right? The bunny just leapt across the room. You probably heard that. But yeah, Mini Sorna, the shape that we have to work with and the size that we have to work with is dictated. I can't expand upon what we have, so I can't make more room to make these spectacular large-scale habitats. Oh, this Deinonychus was not having a great day. He got himself stuck. So yeah, normally if you're just building on a square map, you have so much space. Let's be honest, guys, we have so much space that you can just build whatever the heck you want, and at some point your frame rates are gonna go, and now you're done. But that's not really the case on a park build like Mini Sorna and Mini Nublar, I have the outline of the island, and that's what I have to work with. So yeah, oh god, there he goes again. So this episode and the next, and what will be the last episode, is just gonna be about optimizing the space that we have left and figuring out what works there. And I guess then my main hope will be that it helps give you inspiration on what to do if you're running into something like this as well, where you're just like, okay, I have some areas left that I need to fill. How am I gonna go about that? So maybe this is gonna give you some ideas. It's really just working with what we have. So at the end, we have 2 viewing towers. One looks into, like, the one at the very top right now, and now it's on the left. That looks into the Spinosaurus habitat and the T-Rex arena beyond. And the one at the very tip looks out over the Brachiosaurus habitat. So those are 2 viewpoints that, we're already there. We're already determined, so I had to have path leading up to that. And the section in between these guys were also stuck. So many dinosaurs are getting stuck in this park. I think the park is struggling. But anyway, it's such a narrow section, and guests had to be able to get to the end of that section that it really limited what we could do there. So there's like this little sandy habitat off to the right that I can still add species to, but I couldn't use the whole area because we have to get people to those towers to give them the view as we had planned. Oh, you saw the view into the Velociraptor habitat really quickly. So yeah, that's just what we have left to work with. And honestly, I find it a really fun puzzle, trying to figure out what works in any given area. It limits your freedom, that's very correct, but at the same time, it's also kind of liberating that, you can just sort of excuse yourself by, what else am I supposed to do in this little corner of my map that I still have left? So yeah, anyway. That is the project for this episode. And again, last week is going to be the last building episode of Mini Sorna, as I'm placing just an abundance of fluffy bushes and its smaller cousin. What I want to do for next week's episode, it's going to be an extra long episode, I'm guessing, because there is still a lot of area to cover. But I just realized from this episode that, it is just filling in the blanks. It doesn't make for the most enticing thumbnails and videos, probably. So the the end of this park, we're just gonna do that in one massive episode. It's gonna be a really long build, so because of that, it's probably going to be a bit of a longer speed build episode. We're just gonna finish up the park, and then the week after that is gonna be the tour, and I'm so excited about the tour. We're gonna do it a little bit differently from usual. It's gonna be a little bit horror themed. It's gonna have a little bit of a story, so I'm excited about that. In the meantime, I'm still, placing stuff. So this habitat is just lined with plants, planters, and the wall pieces. I'm messing with the terrain a little bit, so, our guests look down into the habitat. And yeah, please give suggestions for the species that you want to see in that specific habitat or any of the other habitats that are still available. There's a little clip in the intro of this video that showed how many we have left. We also have one aviary left. So please do comment down below which species you feel Mini Sorna would not be complete without. And I'll try to add as many of those as possible. So I'm sneaking in an amenity over here. I feel like that worked out quite well because, you know, it's a bit of a bottleneck over there, but you can just pretend that guests, you know, walk over the concrete, like, terrace of the building itself. So it's not that narrow. I just realized I forgot to customize the building because I actually want to move the entrance point of the building to the corner at an angle. I think that's going to work better with that area. And this habitat also I'm just gonna line with the wall pieces, so not with a big fence. So it's gonna be for smaller species. And I think it's actually gonna be a really fun habitat because you can also see it from across the way, like across the canyon. And of course, you see the zipline building, like the zipline flies along the canyon and guests exit over there. So yeah, again, please do comment your suggestions for the species that you want to see in this park. In this video, I'm building 3 habitats, so these 2 simple ones and the Velociraptor habitat. These 2 I have not added any species to yet, so drop a comment down below. For the rest of the video, I'm going to turn it into a proper speed build and turn up the music for you. I hope that you're gonna enjoy the build, and I'll be back to jump scare you at the very end for a brief overview of what we've done in this episode. Thank you very much for sticking around until the very end. You are a legend. If you've made it this far, comment "I am a legend" down below because you've earned it. Celebrate yourself. I want to again thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and I hope that you'll be back next week for the final building episode. And please do consider subscribing to the channel for way more builds and more tours, including the Mini Sorna tour. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy the game.